Recording going. Testing 1, 2. Okay, I think we're good to go. So a couple of closed session updates, starting with the TTO. Okay, let's transition to Willow Springs property. So we have really 3 things that were in motion since the last time we met in May. The first was the appraisal report. Have I sent you guys the appraisal report? I don't know that I have. So it came back at 68 million, which was the letter.
We saw the amount.
You saw the amount,
Yeah.
okay. So we couldn't remember if we talked about this in closed session last time, because it came in May 18th, but our closed session was May 16th, so I don't think we did. But essentially, we talked about doing 3 things: getting an appraisal, engaging with a PR firm, and engaging with Casarda for the enrollment projection. So we have the appraisal report. Casarda is fully engaged. They anticipate mid to late August, having a report back. And just remember, we took like the easy approach, just the existing data, give us back the projections. And then PR firm, I've sent some updates and weekly messages the last couple of weeks. So looked at 4 different firms: Center for Effective School Operations, C. Blome and Associates, Kivett, and the Donovan Group. C. Blome and Associates and Kivett both said thanks but no thanks, we're not interested for different reasons. C. Blome really works with vendors who support education, not education themselves, so they heard kind of what I felt like our needs are, but then came back and said they're not interested. And then Kivett really is just taking on super large clients. So they heard, again, I talked to them, they were interested, but then I think when they heard our scope, I think they're looking at, she used the term capacity issues, and so I think they're looking at anything higher than $15,000 a month for their work. So that left CESO and Donovan Group. I didn't have any references for CESO in this area around communications. So they do like strategic planning, transportation consulting, finance consulting, facilities consulting, a lot of that work, but there wasn't an example of a high school that had used them for communication. So their price structure was a little different as well, where they charge an hourly rate. So for 50 hours, it was about $6,000 for the month. Donovan, I was able to talk to the superintendent at Warren High School, which is very similar setup to us. They actually use Donovan for their entire communications department. Like, they don't have a coordinator or director. They just use Donovan for all their needs. So the contract is for $4,000 a month, and it's just for comprehensive services. There's no hourly rate on it. So where I'm at now is I'd like to move forward with engaging with Donovan. Got some really positive feedback from Warren High School and the support they receive. So I'd like to talk to them this week if there's no concerns from the board. This would not be subject to bidding procedures or board approval or anything. It's a professional services contract, so I can meet with them and hopefully get this on the rails pretty quickly, and we have obviously some things they can start helping us with like right now. So with that, any questions, thoughts, concerns?
I like the idea. I was reflecting and thinking a lot today and catching myself up.
You had a lot of time.
Last week. And I think I'd be interested to hear more from you, Brian, as you engage with them, or whichever firm, though I'm supportive of them, in terms of what else they could do to elevate PR for the school on, like you said, you were vague with your topics intentionally, so probably. But yeah, there's
not really. So I talked to them about the property discussion. I talked to them about strategic planning launch. I talked to them about website redesign. I talked to them about crisis communication for racialized situations, around grading practices. So things like that. They actually Warren actually brought them on board because they have a referendum on the ballot like next week, and they brought them on 2 years ago to help lead into the referendum, and then it just led into many more projects. So,
I don't think there's a shortage of uses that I can think of.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking a lot about grading, so nice to hear you mention that. I think there could be an opportunity to explore, but you would know better. So.
And Brian, the only thing I wanted to be clear on is it's not a contract. Like, we're not engaged with them for a certain amount of time.
So I'm going to find that out tomorrow. I've got a meeting with him. So I kind of went into it thinking it would have to be like a 6-month or year contract, but I don't think it is. I think it's just, after talking to the Warren superintendent, it seemed like they just month to month.
Wow.
and, you know.
Well, if they're
use
used to
them.
working with education, they probably understand
Yeah.
kind of budgets and things like that, so I appreciate that.
Brian, you mentioned the web relaunch that was slated for end of summer, pushed to the fall. Do you have a sense of where that left off at all? Like, is it
Only that-
80% done? And I'm asking because I'm wondering how, at this stage in that development, how much influence a new coordinator and/or
Right.
a firm would have.
I hope a lot. Like, I've not
Okay.
checked on how much they've gotten done, but they've given us an October 7th date. So
Okay.
I would like to bring a coordinator on, get
Yeah.
this group involved, and find out where Blackboard is at, and potentially not redesign it, but make sure that it has everything we want.
I think if you're that far out, they
Yep.
should be able to have influence, but you would
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So that
Yep.
is my only concern.
Yep.
And we did discuss, I think, timing as far as the rollout of the site being in January, right? Didn't we say something about potentially that? being
Yeah, I mean,
target
really, we
date?
just know that it's not going to be, it was supposed to be ready July 1 so
Right.
that we could launch it August 1st, and now they're
Right.
saying it's not going to be ready till October 7th. So I
And we
think
didn't think that from a timing standpoint, that was even smart to throw out a new website.
I've heard that from some of the PR firms I've talked to, that just like
Okay.
sometimes at the beginning of the year is the worst time to launch a website, because
Uh-huh.
that's when people are looking for
Yeah.
things, and familiarity can sometimes be more important at the beginning of the year. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Jill and I have talked about this a lot, and I appreciate all your feedback and advice. I mean,
Happy to.
that's something where, is it Thanksgiving break? Is it winter break? Is it, I don't know the right answer, but that's why you hire a professional to come
Right.
in, and
That's great.
they'll be able to say, now's the time to do it.
Cool.
Okay, sounds good.
So that, and then, yeah, like I said, with Casarda, I'm thinking mid-August we'll have some initial numbers back, and then maybe August or September board meeting, we can look at the appraisal, look at the enrollment projections, have a PR firm in place, and start to decide what the next steps are.
Is there any timeline, because when you said May 16th, I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm sorry if you already said, but is there a timeline with the firm that's interested?
No, so that's a good question. I talked to Mike Anderwitz, who was one of the guys at the meeting, and I told him that really, and for us, an important first step is the enrollment projection, because the last thing I think we want to do is get this on the rails. The first question people are going to ask is, do you need this property?
Right.
And if we don't have really solid data to answer that question, then that's going to be difficult. So I told him we would be doing nothing on this until late summer at the earliest. And he was like, that's fine. So I'm sure I think we actually agreed to check in like mid-August.
Great.
And by that point, I think the next discussion the board will have is, are we ready for ERIS to start preparing terms and conditions and things like that? But I don't anticipate that happening until probably September, I would think.
When did you say the survey comes back, or the?
Mid-August. They said 60 to 90 days, and we engaged with them like May 17th, right after the May 16th meeting, so 3 months out from there. May even be July. I mean, maybe we get it back sooner than we think, but certainly by late August we should have it. Anything else on Willow Springs property? Brian, what did I miss?
Do we know?
Oh,
if-
title commitment as well. We have that.
Yeah.
That's the fourth thing that we were doing.
I
So
was-
Eris is working on that.
Yeah, Eris is working on that. I was asked by our auditors today if we have any plans, for that property. And they they'll generally ask that because it'll be interesting to see because, I didn't want to lie to them, so I told them, I said, look, we're exploring some options with that. Because typically what they would do is, if we were going to sell it, then they would value that and show that as an asset for sale, instead of when, like right now, the school district don't value property and then put that as an asset on our books, right? We know we own it, we know that there's some value to it, but you don't, because generally speaking, we're not going to sell. Now, we'll have to talk through this and see. Hopefully we'll get through all of this, and then come September when they're in doing their final audit work, we're already on our way, and I can say, yeah, we are doing it. If not, we'll just say no at that time, and then I'll contact them afterward as a subsequent event and just say, hey, look, here's something we need to address, and how do you want to do it? That's all. So, but the last thing I want to do is not tell the auditors the truth. That's something, 'cause that doesn't work very well.
Yeah, no.
Do we know if the guys at Bridge contacted the Park District and Pleasantdale Park District?
No.
We were thinking they hadn't last I heard.
He confirmed they've not said,
Oh, okay.
because I asked about that again, about the confidentiality. He said we've not said anything. I think we had talked about maybe at some point reaching out. I think we will have to. I don't know that we're there yet.
Right,
Yeah,
I would
might be
agree.
too
I
soon.
think we wait a little bit.
Fewer
Yeah.
people in the circle, the better for now.
Because once this is out, it's out.